if your best people are leaving, you know the reason? The truth is, it's not so much compensation, it's organizational culture. So it's not salary. Most of the time, it's not salary. A bigger driver is culture. So a massive analysis that was done during the so-called Great Resignation, straight after COVID, when waves of people, couldn't adjust to go back to work, and so they left, found that toxic culture was over 10 times more predictive of people leaving than pay. 10 times more predictive. Yeah, if there's a toxic culture, people are 10 times more likely to leave than because of an issue with pay. So welcome to Learning with Sanjeev. I'm really happy and glad that you're here with me once again. What we're about to talk about isn't surface level, it's deep. So take a breath and let's go there together, okay? So some months ago, I actually worked with a mid-sized team from an organization that couldn't understand why people were leaving. Why were people leaving? Why were some good guys being recruited, but they didn't stay? They left. Yeah. And why were some of the good guys who were there not able to hang on? They were leaving. They tried to increase salaries, yeah, make the jobs more structured, various things. People still continued to leave. Then little by little, we actually got to the truth. What was the problem? People were not being respected. People were not being listened to. Right? Praise or appreciation wasn't seen as genuine. One of the values of this organization was people first. We care about people. But in reality, that just wasn't shown, right? So you had all the fancy boards saying people first, but the people didn't feel it. The assumption of the people was, yeah, the company just wants the work to get done. They don't really care about us. Sounds like a Michael Jackson song, right? Yeah, so they didn't really care about them, and that was felt, and that was one of the main reasons that people were actually leaving the organization. So the statistic, one last time, toxic culture beats compensation 10 times as a predictor of attrition. 10 times. So for everyone saying people are leaving, we can't pay them more, that's not the main reason. So what is toxic really? What is toxic? So research flags three common elements, right? It's not just an isolated manager here, isolated somebody else there who doesn't know how to behave, but three common elements. Failure to promote inclusion. So people don't feel included, wanted. People feeling disrespected. Failure to promote equity. People don't feel that they're being treated fairly. And unethical behavior. So those were the three things mainly. Failure to promote inclusion or equity, people feeling disrespected, and unethical behavior. And the other important thing here, if any of these things are there, who leaves first? The best guys. Because they can always get a job somewhere else. Yeah. And for me, when I was working in the corporate sector, one of the things that really annoyed me and depressed me the most was when I was working really hard, doing better than other people, and those other people were rewarded before me. Equity wasn't there. I didn't feel that we were being treated fairly. Do you find that in your organizations? Yes? So what are the three primary drivers of toxicity? Again, a study done at MIT Sloan, a meta-analysis across thousands of culture studies found three main drivers of toxicity. Toxic leadership behaviors, that's an obvious one, right? Toxic team norms, and poor work design. Leader behavior and group norms are the most important things that drive this toxic culture. So essentially, what leaders tolerate, not sometimes only what the leader does, him or herself, but what the leaders tolerate becomes the culture. Yeah. So if I do this, I'm not going to get reprimanded. It's tolerated. All right, then more and more people start doing this. More and more people start shouting at each other. More and more people start disrespecting each other because the leader doesn't do anything. Maybe the leader doesn't shout. Maybe the leader doesn't disrespect. But again, one of the ways of silently endorsing the behavior is the leader doesn't say anything. And that too then, tells other people, look, this is a norm. This is the culture that we want. So again, if you look at the three primary drivers of toxicity, toxic leadership behavior, clear. Toxic team norms. Who creates that? Again, the leader. Aha. Poor work design. Who creates that again? The leader. So essentially, if there's a toxic culture, who's responsible for this? The leader. So a study done, well, two studies done at Gallup and also Glassdoor got more or less the same results. Yeah? Only 37% of employees, 37%, just above one third, agreed that they are treated with respect at work. So it's at a record low. It's back to a record low. So the multi-industry analysis done by Glassdoor showed that culture and values and senior leadership were the main three drivers of employee satisfaction. Culture, values, senior leadership. Main drivers of employee satisfaction. So lack of those things or toxic cultures, just named values but not lived values, and leadership behavior brings employee satisfaction down. People leave. Culture is the problem. Yeah, essentially. And if you look at the numbers there, 18.4% said culture and values, 17.6% said senior leadership, and lack of career opportunities. 15.8% said lack of career opportunities. And if you look at all of those three, it again comes back to the leader. Who drives culture and values? The leader. Problems with senior leadership? Again, it's the leaders. Yeah. Lack of career opportunities? Who's not providing this? Again, comes back to the leader. What are some of the hidden costs that actually leaders don't see? When people don't feel respected, they don't feel included, they don't feel that there's equity, what happens? About half of these people deliberately reduce quality and effort. So what happens then? Productivity goes down. Quality of goods or services goes down. Then that's going to hit, right? Various things. And finally, it'll hit your bottom line. Okay, so how do we fix this? Few suggestions that I have to make. You can try this for maybe about 30 days and see. Is there a change? Is there something happening differently? So week one, if you are the leader, just walk around with your ears open. Just listen. Figure out what's happening. Listen. Just keep walking around, listening. So there was this thing called management by walking around, right? MBWA. You walk around. Observe. So here what you're doing is you're listening to see where are we losing energy? Where are people dropping in productivity? If some people are moving lethargically, why is that? What's happening there? What happened before that? Why do people feel small? Feel alone? Don't feel respected? What are some things we should stop doing? Observe. What are some things we should stop doing? Observe. Also in week one, we can start implementing what we call the no triangles route. So if I have an issue with you, I can't go and tell somebody else, look, I have an issue with you, can you please speak and sort it out? Can you please speak? So if I have an issue with you, I can't speak to a third guy, let's say Priyantha, and say, Priyantha, could you please go and speak to Sanath? So let's say you're Sanath. And tell Sanath that I can't do this with him. No. So that's the triangle rule, yeah? So if Sanjeev has an issue with Sanath, I can't solve that problem through Priyantha. I need to talk to Sanath directly. So that's the no triangle rule. If A has an issue with B, don't route it through C. We speak to people, not about them. I think that's a fantastic thing, right? Yeah. So when I was working at IFS, if somebody had a problem, they come to me and say, Sanjeev, Sanath is doing this. And let's say Priyantha comes and tells me, Sanjeev, Sanath is doing this. Okay, I say, okay, thanks a lot, Priyantha, for bringing this to my notice. Please take a seat. I call Sanath also. Sanath, could you come here, please? Now Sanath and Priyantha both seated in front of me. And I say, okay. Now Priyantha, could you say what you said to Sanath? You see? So if it was a genuine issue, you bring it out in the open, you solve the issue. If it was just Priyantha trying to, sling some mud at Sanath, well, Priyantha is not going to do that now. No triangles rule. And I think that's great. So direct would be, I have a problem with Sanath. I talk to Sanath and say, Sanath, look, I need to have a chat with you. We had a small issue like this. How do we prevent this happening in the future? So how do we practice this in reality? Because this is an important one, yeah? Notice the urge to triangle. Yeah? I have an issue with Sanath, and now I have an urge to talk about it with Priyantha. Stop that urge. Prepare one clear message. So I'm going to talk to Sanath. One behavior, Sanath. At the meeting yesterday, I was speaking and you interrupted me and I lost my train of thought. Yes, so one request, please, Sanath. Yeah, I'll give you a chance to speak. But next time I'm talking, please don't jump in there and interrupt. Yeah, could we do that? And I won't interrupt you as well. If you really can't, don't feel okay to speak to Sanath directly, what you can do is then you ask for help from a colleague or a supervisor to just sit in at the meeting. But still, I'm going to be talking to Sanath directly. And the guy is just there, yeah, as a third party, maybe a facilitator, maybe HR. Finally, after talking to Sanath, close the loop. So here's what we agreed. Yeah, summarize. This is what we agreed. You're okay with that, right? Let's continue. Okay, super. So some useful scripts that you can actually use talking to Sanath directly. So when the deadline changed without a heads up, I didn't know the deadline had changed. I had to suddenly rush a client call, because I had to inform the client about this. And the client was not happy either. That was the impact. So next time, could you please inform me early? When let's say I try to talk to Priyantha when I have an issue with Sanath, Priyantha could tell me, Sanjeev, I want to help you solve this issue with Sanath. So let's figure out what you're going to tell him. But I'm not going to speak to Sanath for you. So Priyantha could always say that. If you like, I'll sit in at the conversation, but I'm not going to say anything. I'll just be there if you want. And if my manager is someone, and someone knows I had a problem with Sanath, someone could be asking me, Sanjeev, have you spoken to Sanath about this issue yet? No, someone I haven't. Alright, why is that? I'll support a three-way conversation. Maybe set it up. Let's have this three-way conversation. So set up some norms for this, yeah? You can easily solve this. Team agreement. We're not going to talk about people, we're going to talk to them directly. And if the others stop doing it, well, it's gradually going to die away. Again, leadership from the leader. Leader's behavior. If the leader stops that behavior, others are going to follow gradually. Politics in an organization can only exist if the leader tolerates it and encourages it, isn't it? And also some great meeting hygiene. Don't say things like, some of us, some people, many people. Who are many people? Who are some people? Name the names. If you can't put the names there, don't say it. Very easy. So when I direct in choirs and when I direct choirs, if there's a problem in the choir, somebody comes and tells me, there's something is happening wrong here, some other people are singing wrong. I say, who? Because by saying some other people are singing wrong, I can't fix that problem, right? If I know who is singing wrong, then I can fix it. Yeah? And also I tell the choir, look, we are on a deadline, we are stuck for time. So if there's an issue, I need to address it directly by name. Yeah? It's not about being personal, it's not about being harsh, it's about doing things for the good of the whole, for the good of the team, so that we can progress fast. And I say, you want to tell me something, you can say it openly. Yeah? Sanjeev, you made a mistake in the music there? Tell me, no problem. And lots of people do. And that's a great culture to have. Where we're helping each other, pointing out things openly, which means you can solve the problem faster, move forward faster. Right? Without beating about the bush. But that has to be the culture. It's said with respect. It's not said to bring someone down, it's said to solve a problem, solve an issue. Third thing we can start doing in week one, we're still in week one, stop the rude protocol. So in any meeting, if somebody feels somebody is being rude, they can just say, pause. That landed a little disrespectfully, that sounded a bit disrespectful. Then quick reset and continue. Week two, you can start making the norms visible. So meeting hygiene, decide what time you're going to start, what time you're going to finish, and stick to that. Every meeting would have a purpose, an owner, preparation, who's doing what before the meeting. Not come to the meeting and figure out what should we do. Wasting time. Disrespect. And end the meeting with decisions. Who's going to do what, by when. We can have a feedback ritual in week two. Once a week, each person talks about 2 examples using the SBI model, situation, behavior, impact. Yeah, it was a good thing. Where you're openly appreciating people. So situation, behavior, impact, and appreciation. Wow. And also try to normalize bidirectional feedback, where the leader asks for feedback first. Tell me about me as a leader. How am I doing? What could I do better? Week 3, start the work design. Start changing things around. Big challenge for you. Can you try to kill 2 meetings per person in week 3? So if I used to go for 5 meetings in the week, I only go for 3 now. Right? Meetings are the number one time waster, right? Killer of time, killer of productivity. Ask the question, do I really need to go for that? Maybe start using the 3 W's when you give some work to someone. Who owns it? Who owns it? Who's going to own this and make sure it happens? Why does it matter? Especially for Gen Z, it's very important that we say, why does it matter? Why does it matter? And what does good look like? If this task is to be done well, what does that look like? All right, so we got 10 customers for the briefing. That's one thing, indicator. That out of the 10 customers, 5 of them actually placed an order. That's what good looks like. So we are telling people, okay, to meet the expectation, this is what needs to be done. This is what the result needs to be. This is what good looks like. When I ask you to do something and I'm not clear, and you have a perception of what I want or what you think I want, and you go ahead and do that, and when you finish that and come and tell me it's done, and I look at it and it's not what I wanted, there is resentment. I'm upset, you're upset. Because there was ambiguity. And then you turn around and say, Sanjeev, why couldn't you tell me more clearly? I could have done this. And try to free up time for the people in your team. Maybe at least a 2 or 3 window block in the week where there are no meetings. No meetings. I know some people who go from meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting. So just going for meetings, but where is the time to think? Where is the time to execute what happened at the meeting? Some people are extremely proud of having so many meetings. Week 4, walk the talk. So that you're very much a part of this. That you own this whole thing. And you want it to happen. Yeah? So maybe openly give some times that you are going to be accessible as the leader. Lead office hours. So I'll be here 8 to 10 each day. Just walk in anytime. Come and have a chat. Maybe a specific day of the week. What about a thank you Thursday? On Thursdays, we actually made a point to appreciate each other. And on Thursday, if there's nothing to appreciate, there's a learning there as well. Yes? All right, so there are a lot of points there, right? A lot of points, a lot of things that you can start doing to start making the culture even better than it was. I'm sure you're thinking, okay, our culture is not as bad as this, Sanjeev. It's not toxic. Fantastic. But still, there are things we can do to improve, isn't it? There's room for improvement. There are things we can do better. So let's start doing some of these things better. Because people don't leave organizations for pay as much as they leave organizations because they just can't stand to work there anymore. The culture. And culture is caused by the leaders. And I'm a leader, and so are you. So it's in our hands. It's in our hands, right? Yeah. So people don't leave only for money. Well, money is a factor for sure. It's a hygiene factor, very important, right? But sometimes even if, the money is good, people leave because they can't just bear it anymore. They hate how they feel going to work. And I know there were 2 jobs I did in my career where I just hated going to work. Luckily, not anymore. I love the work I'm doing now. 3 ways we can fix a toxic culture. Leader behavior, I think that's the main thing because everything comes back to this. Yeah, setting some good team norms, changing the work design, changing how we work. So respect is not a nice to have, I think it's a must have. Especially with the Gen Zs, you don't respect them, they're out the door. They don't know why we are doing what we are doing, what's the bigger purpose here, what's the meaning here, they're out the door. So actually the Gen Zs are, in a way, forcing us to rethink how we used to act, behave, lead, and maybe change things for the better, which might be a good thing. So if this video helped you, do feel free to share it with some other leader who you think might need it. Yeah? It's been great having you with me for this video. If this helped you, please do like and subscribe. And we'll have more coming up. So one thing I'm trying to do also in this channel is trying to marry quantum physics, leadership, personal development, and purpose. And coming up with some really unique synthesizations. Right? So stay tuned for that. So thank you once again for joining me on my channel, Learning with Sanjeev. I'm Sanjeev. It's been fantastic having you with me. So till the next one, stay safe and stay blessed. Bye.